Albert Einstein said, great spirits will always encounter violent opposition from mediocre people. Oh, I love that. Great people or great spirits will always encounter violent opposition from mediocre people. Be careful that what they say. Now, there's a balance here. When I'm making major decisions, I want to get advice. I want to get the input from other people. You know, I might want to talk to my accountant. What's the tax consequence? I want to talk to my attorney. I want to talk to 2 or 3 people that have done something or been down that road before. But I'm not letting them make the decision. I'm getting the input from them so I can process it. I'm not saying just be an independent person, just do what you feel like doing and ignore everybody. No. What I'm saying is this: watch what they say and filter what they say, and don't let their words steal your dream. I was flipping channels the other day, and I came across a program on Discovery Channel, and it was about the story of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. And it was very interesting, but then the announcer made a statement that so grabbed my attention. And here's what he said. He said, a caterpillar spits out of its mouth silk, which it lives in to become a butterfly. In other words, the caterpillar lives in what it spits out of its mouth. And so do we. Because see, what we spit out of our mouth might be something in the visible. I mean, their mouth is visible. Ours is invisible. But we're growing in it just the same. How many of you want to have increase? Am I in the right place? Yeah. Then you've got to train yourself out of your mouth to speak increase. So let's do it one more time. Find 3 people and say, I am ready for fresh increase. Hey, you think you can be seated? Can I borrow one of those music stands? Would that be okay? Yeah. Well, it is so great to be back with you. Yes. And, Pastor and I, we were in a little bit of a hurry because I had to drive back to Orlando where I'm staying and then come back again tonight. And I wasn't anticipating all this traffic and rain and everything. Thank you so much. This is great. But we just had a wonderful time visiting with he and Joyce at the Chinese buffet.
Janice.
What?
Mom is Joyce.
I know that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, we had a wonderful time visiting at the buffet, and you just have to be careful at a buffet. Oh my goodness, you got to choose the right thing and not get too much of even the right thing. You could have a problem. But anyway, I said again this morning. I want to say it again today. This couple is so special, and not just their caring for you, but just the love and compassion that they carry for people in general. I didn't get a chance to ask you this at lunch because we were a little bit of a hurry, but I heard that there was actually recently somebody that came in the parking lot that tripped on one of these bumpers out there, parking bumper things. And when they came into the church, it caused their shoe to separate, and their shoe was flapping like this. And Pastor was out there just visiting with people, and he noticed this. And they told me that some, most people, they weren't paying any attention, but he noticed that. And he just wasn't going to let that stay. He reached into his pocket, pulled out this wad of $100 bills that was held together with a rubber band, took that rubber band off, handed it to the guy and said, here, put this on the shoes. It'll keep them from flapping. Now, that's the kind of caring attitude he has. Yeah. But, okay. Well, we do have a surprise for you tonight, and that surprise is a very special person in my life is with us tonight. As I mentioned to you this morning, my first wife died in 2000, and I was single for 10 years, and not out of choice as much as there wasn't anybody else I was interested in but this woman. So I just had to wait her out. And She's just an incredible, talented lady, musical producer, former Miss American Beauty Pageant, system judge, just so full of the Holy Spirit and anointing. I could turn the service over to her and she could run with it, but we won't do that tonight, or I won't have a hotel room to go back to. But it's just great to have her with us. I'd like you to welcome my wife, Sharon Cook Harrison. Sharon. All right, we're talking about increase. And before we get into tonight's teaching, let me just recapitulate with it. Increase is not a message about money. Increase is a message about changing the way we process our input. And as I shared this morning is, we are preconditioned prior to an event how we're going to react to most events. Prior to what you hear, prior to what you see, your reaction is predetermined by how you have decided to tell your subconscious to react. So that you can hear what somebody else hears and have a total different reaction. And when you take the time to reprogram your mind into the positive, program your mind into positive expectation, to reprogram your mind into believing for increase, all of a sudden your life takes on a whole different dimension. So increase is not a teaching about getting more money. Increase is a teaching about changing the way we process input. And as we change the way we process, we hear a positive when other people hear a negative. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was doing a seminar in Tulsa. It was during an economic slump. And so Tulsa was particularly heavy hit because they were in the oil industry. Prices were down. They were in farming. It was really, really a negative time. And we decided this is a good time to do an increased seminar. And so during the lunch, I'm walking around and I'm visiting. It was also a time when the government was having a whole lot of repos. And I don't know if any of you remember years ago, this will be between some of your time, when savings and loan did home mortgages and banks did banking, and the two were separate. And interest rates went up and the banks were stuck with 6% and 4% loans, and interest rates were 18%, and they were having, and they went under. And so the government stuck with all this inventory of real estate that they had guaranteed through FDIC. And so they're having to dump this real estate. And so the market was horrible. I mean, just really a bad time. So I'm walking around visiting at lunch. And this one guy is sharing. And he said, you wouldn't believe it. He said, I just found a condo in Tulsa near ORU, which is the southern area of Tulsa, is your upper area. He said, it's in a gated community. He said, it's got a pool. It's a one-bedroom, not built long ago. He said, and I can buy that for under $20,000. Now, when he said that, it was like he announced somebody died. Because everybody's thinking, oh no, what's happening to my real estate values? What's my home worth? But when I heard it, some of you, I saw the expression, you thought, oh my goodness, that's a deal. Yeah, that's a deal. See, and so how we reacted to it was determined to a large degree before we actually heard that news. Now, I was like you. I was thinking, my goodness, I might have cut that seminar session a few minutes short that day because I wanted to get to a phone. And before sunset, I was looking at properties, and I ended up buying several properties because not only were they offering half of the previous mortgage, but they were offering 97% financing to investors. I could buy these at 3% down. And I began collecting condos. Why? Because prior to the event, I trained myself to think a certain way. One more example. We were doing one of the Get Motivated seminars, and it was in Kansas City in October. And we check into the hotel we're at, and I look across the street. I'm across the street from the Kansas City Royals baseball stadium. Now, that might not mean anything to you, but I was across the street from the Kansas City Royals baseball game on their opening night of the World Series. And I don't have a meeting that night. My meeting's the next day. I said, you got to be kidding. People fly from all over to go to the World Series. I'm across the street. What an opportunity. I'm going to go. So I talked to one of the other speakers and I said, are you interested? He said, yeah, let's go. So we go online. Tickets are selling for the cheapest we could get were $1,000 to $1,300. And I'm thinking, I want to go to the game and it's across the street, but not if it's not even my team, not for $1,300. And so kind of resolved myself that, okay, we probably won't go. But this other speaker, Adam, he's an incredible increase thinker. He holds the record for the all-time sales on eBay. And he's now doing seminars on how to make money on eBay. And so he contacts me. He says, Bob, it's supposed to rain tonight, maybe thunderstorms. He said, it's totally possible there's people that aren't going to show up because they think the game's going to be postponed, the game canceled. They don't want to stand in the rain. They don't want to be out there, He said, I think if we would go over to the stadium and wait until they play the national anthem, wait until they play the national anthem, there might be scalpers that are desperate to get rid of their tickets. So we went across the street. We waited till we heard the national anthem. And then we started walking around, and sure enough, we found a scalper, and we got seats on the 8th row behind the dugout for $300. See, that's increased thinking. Because we process differently, we don't accept what others accept. We get opportunities that they don't get. Now, I thought I was really good. I mean, to be able to go to the World Series game, 8 rows behind the dugout for $300, but Adam, he outdid me. During the break of one of the innings, he went out and bought, 10 World Series baseballs for $10 each. Advertised them on eBay, sold them for $50 each, made $400. He made money going to the World Series. So the point is, increase is a lifestyle. And when you catch a hold of this, your life will take on a whole different dimension. And so that's the real key that I want you to catch. Before we get into tonight's message, let me just mention to you that, we do have resources available back at the table. This will be your last opportunity to take advantage of the specials that we have. Everything on the table is marked down when we do church meetings. Our School of Increase particularly is just greatly discounted. So let me just quickly review the specials that you have. This is our #1 seller. When I speak in the secular arena, 80% of our sales are this. Not a book. 80% of our sales are this. Because those leaders and achievers want to get material that's going to take them to the next level and help them. And we've put together 6 different seminars. We have the Great Multitude Mindset. We have Time Increase. Oh, this is a good one. How to get rid of time wasters. How to increase productivity. How to recognize when time is more valuable than money. That's a real key to increase. Is getting rid of time wasters and recognizing when there's a switch. I'll give you an example. Some friends of mine, we decided we were going to go to the first renewal game of the LA Rams coming back to LA and the Seattle Seahawks. And we went there. It was a beautiful afternoon day, and the more people came than was expected. It was a sellout. The traffic was backed up. A jam getting into the ticket area. They ran out of water because they weren't anticipating everybody drinking so much water. Now it's 15 minutes before kickoff. We left plenty of time, but we lost all of our buffers, and none of us have eaten. And they say, oh my goodness, look at the line. It's at least 30 minutes long. We're going to miss the kickoff and part of the first quarter. I said, no. I said, you guys, you go on, get your seats. I said, I'll join you. Oh, that's so thoughtful of you, Bob. You're just such a great guy. Thank you. And so they go get their seats, and I go over to the food line. I look, when they're out of sight, I quick walk up to the first person in line. And I say, oh, hi. I said, what are you getting today? She said, I'm getting 2 hot dogs and 2 Cokes. I said, oh, I'd like to pay for your meal. She said, what? Yes, I'll buy your 2 hot dogs and your 2 Cokes as long as you let me place my order when you place yours. She said, okay. So I got everybody's food, and we got there, and I saw the kickoff. Why? Because, see, I recognized that was the moment when time was more valuable than money. All right? So break free from the bondage of debt. How do you create an environment where increase flourishes? Defensive strategies. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins games. And flourish. How to Flourish in Life's Desert Seasons, 7 Habits of Highly Productive Palm Trees. Go on our website. This is $5.95. You want to get it tonight, half price. And we're going to give you free our series on deals, how to save money in everything you buy. And if you buy it in the download version, it's even less than that, 3 payments of $89 or something like that. So that's our first special. Second special is Great Multitude by itself. If you're going to get one series, that's the one you want to get. This is our training program on how to retrain your core belief system. How do you go after your subconscious? How do you change your instinctive reactions? That's $89 on our website. We have it today for $59 or $49 on the download card. And the last one, we have 7 more of our books if you want to get it. 101 Bible-based success strategies, every chapter 2 pages. Taught with an unusual newspaper headline, such as Blind Man Robs Bank, Can't Find Way Out. And like in that, we teach how to have an exit strategy. And so the book by itself is $20. I'd recommend get the download card, audio download for $37. The book's free. We do take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, cash, check, and airline first class upgrades. And so those are our specials. All right, let's get into what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk tonight about the power of a dream. The power of a dream. Now, when I looked up in the dictionary, I found that it actually had 2 totally separate definitions of a dream. So we could go either way on it, but we don't have time for both, so we're going to take one tonight. The first definition said, a series of thoughts, images, sensations that occur in a person's mind during sleep. And the Bible is full of him speaking to people in dreams. It says he speaks to people in dreams and visions and changes the course of their life. And Daniel's had a dream, and this person had a dream. So dreams are a vital part of our lives and God speaking to us. But that's not the dream we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to look at the other definition of a dream. And the other definition of a dream is contemplating the possibility of doing something, conceiving and picturing something in the future. Or I put that all together, and here's Bob Harris's definition. A dream is a driving force that is created by hunger and vision that gives one focus and energizes them towards a goal. Let me say that again. A dream is a driving force created by hunger and vision that gives one focus and energizes them towards a desired goal. There's a story in the Bible about somebody that had not the death of a dream, but a physical death. But when I read that story, I realized that there were some keys in there that we could use not just to bounce back and come back from physical death, but to come back from death of our dreams. And so our text is going to be John, the 11th chapter. Let's quickly look at it, and then we'll get into what I want to share. Now, a certain man was sick named Nazareth of Bethany, the town of Mary, and her sister Martha. Therefore his sister sent him unto him, saying, Lord, behold, him who thou lovest is sick. And when Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, and when he heard therefore that he was sick, he stayed there 2 days where he was, and then he said to the disciples, we need to go. And when they arrived, in the 32nd verse, Mary said, Lord, if you had been here earlier, my brother would not have died. And when Jesus saw her weeping, he was troubled, and Jesus wept. All right? Then we go over and we said, and some of them came to Jesus, and they said, why not could this man have healed him and caused him that he wouldn't have died? And Jesus came to where they had laid him. And in the 39th verse, Jesus spoke to them and said, take ye away the stone. And in the 42nd verse, they took away the 41st verse, they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And the 43rd verse, and when he had thus spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. And Jesus said unto them, loose him and let him go. What an incredible story of somebody that was dead, in the grave 3 days. And when Jesus spoke, he came back to life. But some of those same principles that we see that I just read to you are keys that you can use to bring a dead dream back to life. And why is that so important? Because a dream is a powerful force to have in your life. We just recently celebrated the Martin Luther King, what was it, the birthday? Or 50-something, 50th day of his assassination. It wasn't a celebration, acknowledged it. The 50th day of his assassination. But think about how his dream has impacted our generation. Going around, if I say I have a dream, you automatically think about Martin Luther King. It's like he's captured that phrase. I have a dream. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, said, if one believes in a dream, there is no limit to what they can do. Walt Disney, he said, if you can dream it, you can probably do it. Remember, this whole thing was started with a mouse. All of these people are acknowledging what? That their success, everything, was tied to a dream. Recently, Sharon and I saw the movie on the history of Churchill during World War II. And Churchill talks about a dream. And he said, the empires of tomorrow are someone's dreams today. Think about that. The empires tomorrow are somebody's dream today. So the power that we can find in a dream. Boxer George Foreman said, if one stops dreaming, they might as well be dead. Because see, that's the problem. There's people that they're still alive, but they've lost their dream. They lost the vitality. They've lost the purpose. They lost the drive in their life. And if you can grab a hold of that, it can give you a new vitality and a new purpose in your life. You were talking about Frances Littauer this morning, Pastor, and when she's spoken several times, we've spoken together, and she makes a statement. She said, the poorest one in the room is not the one that has no money. It's the one that has no dreams. Wow, such a powerful, powerful statement. And so, if we're going to experience God's power, first we have to realize there are going to be resistant forces trying to keep you from bouncing back. I remember I was doing a seminar with Zig Ziglar, and we had a guest speaker that day, a man named Tom Landry. It was in El Paso, Texas at the convention center. And many of you know Tom Landry. He was the former coach of the Dallas Cowboys for 29 years and helped create the image of America's team. And Tom Landry was sharing that day, how do you have a winning team? And he said there's 3 keys to having a winning team. Number 1, you have to have a clear-cut goal, clear-cut objective. What is it you want to accomplish? If it's just kind of a blur, I want to make more money, or I want to be more successful, or I want to win more games, it's probably not going to work. What is it you actually want to do? I want to win the league championship, or I want to get to the playoffs, or I want to make so much money, I want to give so much, I want to be able to go to mission field. What is it that you want to do? What is your objective? Then he says, number 2, you have to have an action plan. The action plan is, what are you going to do to accomplish that? Because without an action plan, it's just a pipe dream. What steps are you going to take? What price are you willing to pay? Now, those 2 are fairly common in teaching of, motivation. But the third one took me by surprise. He said, key number 3 is you must identify the resistant forces that are going to be present to try and keep you from accomplishing your objectives and your plans. He said, because there will always be resistant forces. He said, football games in life are not played in a vacuum. There's always going to be resistant forces. So ever since that day, I've thought in terms of I want to accomplish something, I want to do something. What are going to be the resistant forces? Because it's only when we identify those that we can overcome them. So let's start with this particular story. We have a couple very solid, strong, resistant forces that are coming against Jesus that are probably going to come against us. The first one, when he arrives on the scene, she says, "Oh, you got here too late." See, so many times somebody says, "Oh, if you'd only been here sooner," but it's too late. I like what Yogi Berra says. He said, it's never too late until you believe it's too late. You know, Marilyn Hickey talks about this, and she said, sometimes God is terribly last minute, but I've never known him to be too late. And so that's the key we have to face. I went to a restaurant that a man had in Kentucky a while ago when I was speaking in the area. And I studied this, and when I was there, heard the details of this man's story, how he operated this restaurant. And when he was 66 years of age, it was very successful. It was on the highway that would go from Ohio down to Florida. It was so successful, they had to expand it a couple of times, and then they opened up a motel next door. They opened up a gas station across the street. He was all set. He was making money. And it all changed in one day. Because one day, a few miles away, they opened up Interstate 75. And all the cars that were going down his road now were over on the interstate. And the traffic isn't there, the money's there, he's not losing it. And he ended up, basically the place was gone because the customers weren't there. And his friend said, "You're 66 years of age. Get on the interstate, go to Florida and retire." But he felt he still had a purpose. He felt he still had drive. He didn't feel like he just wanted to do that. And he got to thinking, he said, my location is gone. But the reason people came here was because of my recipe. And my recipe is not limited to one place. My recipe can go anywhere. And tying into this morning, he went to this place, no, this place, no, that place, no, trying to get somebody to say, take my recipe and run with it. This can make money. And finally, somebody did. And they opened up the very first Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was 66 years of age. And look at the empire now. Why? Because he wouldn't believe it was too late. See, too late thinking. Lester Summerall, at the age of 56, I think it was, comes back to America from being a missionary in the Philippines and wants to start a ministry. And he said, it's too late to do anything great. Here, you can pastor this church. But he didn't believe in too late. He believed he still could make a difference. And so that church began to grow. They ended up building a 3,000-seat auditorium in the round, and then he got a television station. Then he got another one. Then he got another one. Then he got involved in Feed the Hungry. And they got trucks and began to take food around, distribute to people. Then I helped them raise money to get a C-130 airplane so they could go and not be limited just to where there were roads. And when he died, look at the life that he lived and the impact he made. But why? Because at the age of 56, coming from the mission field, he wouldn't accept too late. So you might be thinking it's too late, but I'm telling you, if you don't believe it's too late, it's not too late. Somebody was telling me that years ago, they remember me sharing this story about buying this plane ticket in Tampa. And it's a great story because it illustrates the thinking that I want you to catch. This was several years ago before all tickets were computerized and everything was functioning. You could do these kind of things. But I had my staff, they would normally buy my tickets. And now tickets are sold based on how many seats are in the airplane determines the fare. But it used to be that the fares changed by how far out you bought the ticket. So if you bought a ticket 21 days out, it was less than 14 days out, less than 7 days out. And if you bought it less than 7, it was the most expensive. So you had to buy tickets, based on how much in advance. And so I had staff that would get my tickets when I was going to go speaking, and I had a speaking engagement in the Tampa area. And it's 11:30 on a Saturday night. I'm home. That next Sunday I was not going to be going out anywhere and speaking. I turn off my light to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I said, wait a minute. I'm flying to Tampa next Saturday. Nobody's flown to ask me what time I want to leave, when I want to arrive. If they haven't asked me when I want to leave and arrive, they haven't bought my ticket. So I said, I wonder if I have to be concerned about it. Maybe I could just have them do it on Monday. So I phone up American Airlines and I say, how much is it to buy a 7-day advance ticket to Tampa round trip? They said $250 round trip. I said, what if I buy it on Monday? They said, oh, the fare jumps to $750. $500 more times 2 tickets, that's $1,000 more by waiting till Monday. I said, okay, I better buy it myself. So I said, okay, what are the times of the flights? Okay, okay. All right, yeah, I'll take that flight in the afternoon, getting in at 7 o'clock. Okay, what time do I come back? I got to come back on Monday. What time? So. I said, okay, I'll take that one flight. And so I said, I'll buy that. There's silence on the line. She comes back and says, oh, Mr. Harrison, I am so sorry. But when you called, it was 11:50 something. But we've been talking, trying to figure out these flights and stuff. It is now after midnight. I went to punch in a 7-day advance ticket, and it's kicking it out, said I can't issue it because it's now 6 days, and 23 hours and 58 minutes. She said, I am so sorry, but it's too late to get a 7-day advance ticket. It's going to cost you $750 each. I said, oh, my goodness. Well, you win some, you lose some. You're normally pretty good. Figure it in with the averages. And so I just started to say, oh, you got to accept it. But then I got an idea. Oh, I turned the light back on. I said, wait a minute. I called Los Angeles. I'm in Tulsa when I did this. I called Los Angeles, and I asked for the number for American Airlines. And I said, I need to buy a 7-day advance ticket to Tampa. Can I still do it? She said, yes, you got 2 hours. Why? Because I wouldn't accept it was too late. See, when you catch this, recognize heaven doesn't necessarily operate on your time zone. And when your watch says it's too late, it might not be too late because they're on a different time zone. Too late here might not be too late there. So turn to the person next to you and say, it's not too late. Say it like you mean it. It's not too late. The second thing they said was, could not this person have healed Lazarus? Could not even have healed him. And second thing you have to really be careful of is people who will try and steal your dream with their words. With their words. It isn't always negative people. It isn't always people that are against you. It could be well-meaning people that don't want you to get hurt or don't want you to take a risk or whatever. But with their words, they shoot you down. When Joseph told his brothers of his dream, they didn't say, oh, this is so wonderful. We're so excited for all the things that are going to happen to you. They threw him in a pit and got rid of him. And there's going to be people like that aren't excited, about your dreams. Albert Einstein said, great spirits will always encounter violent opposition from mediocre people. Oh, I love that. Great people or great spirits will always encounter violent opposition from mediocre people. Be careful that what they say. Now, there's a balance here. When I'm making major decisions, I want to get advice. I want to get the input from other people. I might want to talk to my accountant. What's the tax consequence? I want to talk to my attorney. I want to talk to 2 or 3 people that have done something or been down that road before. But I'm not letting them make the decision. I'm getting the input from them so I can process it. I'm not saying just be an independent person, just do what you feel like doing and ignore everybody. No. What I'm saying is this: watch what they say and filter what they say and don't let their words steal your dream. In the book PowerPoints, it's one of the chapters we have here. Well, I won't take time to read it. I'll just tell you this story. There was this guy named Bill Swad, and he worked as a baggage handler at Columbus International Airport. And he was making a little bit of money selling cars on the side, one or two or three a year, whatever, to help supplement his income. And he got to thinking, I could make money in this. I'm good at this. And so he took a chance one day. He arranged to rent a lot in a good area of Columbus. And he went and got bank financing to buy a few cars. And he left a secure job at American as a baggage handler and opened up his used car lot. In the book, I talk about how he says he was just feeling so great, so excited about this new potential opportunity in his life and his ability to break out of the economic system and maybe have greater success. He said the postman came that day. And when the postman came to deliver some junk mail, he said to him, "Mister, you ought to know I've been working this route for years. And there's several other businesses that have been on this corner, and every single one of them have failed." And Bill said, "I was not going to let that postman steal my dream and steal my future." He said, "I turned to the postman and I said, well, this is the one business that's going to succeed." And he did succeed. That little used car lot expanded. Soon he got a franchise for a Chrysler Plymouth dealership. It became the largest Chrysler Plymouth dealership in the state of Ohio. Simultaneously, he had the largest Nissan dealership in the state of Ohio. Simultaneously, he had the largest American Motors dealers in the state of Ohio. He also had a large leasing company, had insurance companies. His whole life took on a whole different dimension. Why? Because he wouldn't let that postman steal his dreams. So the two things you have to really be careful of, number one, you have to be careful that you don't let people talk you out of your dreams. And number two, you have to believe that you still have time to make that dream happen. Now, the other thing that's really important is let's get into the positive. You can have a dream, but if you don't walk towards that dream, if you don't activate that dream, if you don't do something to try and make that dream happen, it's just going to be a dream. I'll talk to you in a year. You'll talk about your dream. I'll be back here in 3 years. You'll be still talking about your dream. And I'll say, "What's happening with your dream?" "Nothing." You're still talking about it. So you have to make a decision to start walking towards it. Jesus started walking towards Lazarus' grave. He said, "Let us go." Walt Disney says, all of a person's dreams can come true if they have the courage to pursue them. The great comedian, Oklahoman comedian Will Rogers said, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you're just standing there. Opportunities are kind of like the door of a Publix grocery store. You walk up to that door, and you say, "Oh, the door's closed. I can't go in. I'll wait till the door opens, and then I'll go in." And as long as you stand there, that door is not going to open. But if you start walking towards that door, that little sensor spots you, and that door opens. See, and maybe you've been waiting for that door to open for you to start walking towards the dream. And I would say, no, start walking towards the dream, and the door will open. You heard me just quickly summarize a story this morning of driving into that dealership and the man saying, "I'll give you 22% ownership. Please try and save my dealership." Well, the great part of the story has two parts. Number one, that God gave us a strategy. We saved the dealership. We increased sales 300% and went to the top 10 in Southern California in 90 days. That's the great part. There's a second part to the story. Even though we had that great success, he was still programmed to think failure. He was still motivated by the gas crisis, the lines, the negative newspaper headlines. Even when he had that great success, he walks in after that and says, I just don't want to deal with this anymore. He said, I want out. I'm just going to get rid of the store. So even after that success, he wanted out. So I said, I'll buy it. He said, you will? Yeah, I'll buy it. I didn't know how I was going to buy it. I didn't have the money to buy it, but I figured the opportunity was there. I could make it work. And we put together a package, and we're able to buy that dealership. But see, that's the key. You start walking towards it, and when you're walking towards it, the possibilities, the way to make it happen will show up. What hinders so many people is they're waiting for the how to show up before they do it. And if your dream is strong enough, the how will always show up. So don't worry about the how to. Just start walking towards your dream. And that's the key. The next thing, and we only have time for maybe a couple more tonight with what we want to do. Jesus spoke when he arrived at this negative situation. And he said to them, take away the stone. Take away the stone. Now, mind you, he's been told that Lazarus is dead. He's been told that he's been in there 3 days already. When David says, take away the stone, at that moment, he has become committed to something happening. And that's a real key. A real key sometimes to breakthroughs, to turnarounds, to having your dream be resurrected, is you've got to get committed to it. It's not just enough to start walking and doing some steps, and that's great, but are you really committed to it? I mean, he couldn't say, take away this stone. They roll the stone away. He calls for his Lazarus. Nothing happens. He said, put the stone back. No. When he said, take away the stone, he was committed. Get committed to what you're believing to. Get committed to that goal, that dream that you have. I came across a great little story on commitment. I'll read it to you. A young lover wrote these precious words to his sweetheart. And here's what he said. I would be willing to crawl through a pit of snakes just to look at that lovely face of yours. I would be willing to climb to the highest mountain peak just to see the gleam in your beautiful eyes. I would swim the highest swollen river just to be at your side. And he signed it, lovingly and devotedly yours. P.S. I'll be over Wednesday night if it's not raining. See, so he has all these great words, but he's not really committed. But when you get committed is when it's all going to make a difference in your life. And that's the key. I heard the story of this couple. They had season tickets to the Portland Trail Blazers basketball team. And up until when Paul Allen bought them, they were just a horrible team. You'll relate to that being in Tampa Bay. But anyway, no, I'm sorry. That's bad. Anyway, so this couple said if they ever make the playoffs, nothing is going to keep us from going to that playoff game. And sure enough, years later, they made the playoffs. And she's sitting at the game. The game is a sellout. The city of Portland is just ecstatic. The first time their team's been in the playoff, they're all excited about it. And somebody sitting near her or right behind her notices it's an empty seat next to her. It's a sellout. Scalpers are out there, trying to get tickets to resell them. She's got an empty seat. He says, ma'am, I notice there's an empty seat by you. What's that all about? Oh, she said, that's my husband's seat. She said, we said if the Trailblazers ever make the playoffs, nothing's going to keep us from making the game. But I notice he's not here. She said, he passed away a few days ago, so he couldn't be here. But why the empty seat? Why didn't you give the seat to a relative or to one of your friends? She said, I tried to, but they all insisted to going to his memorial service. Now, that's what I call commitment. And so I would say to you, become committed. Make a decision that nothing is going to cause you to go back. that you're going to grab a hold of that dream. You're going to resist those resistant forces. You're going to believe that God's going to inspire your director. You're going to take some action steps. What can you do this month to start working towards that dream? What can you do not this year? What can you do this month to start to make that dream happen? Start getting in motion, walking towards the dream. How can you get committed to the dream? You're not really committed until you speak it, until you tell others about it, until you say, this is my commitment. I'm going to do this. And you make yourself accountable for it. When you do that, all of a sudden, that thing that seems so far away is going to come and be a part of your life. All the principles that I'm sharing with you, I can relate in one story that we'll wrap with that ties this all together. It's a story of my father. My father was an incredible theologian, had a doctor of theology, doctor of philosophy degree. He was president of a college for many years and then was executive head of an organization called Full Gospel Businessmen. And then he got a phone call from a man named Oral Roberts that told him about a dream that he had for a university of Tulsa, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It would be high academic but strong spiritually. And he asked my dad if he'd be a part of the originating team and help him to organize and hire faculty and help get students to come. And so while they're building the campus, my dad gets hired and starts traveling around the country to try and recruit faculty and get students to come and help them open up that fall, that university. I remember Easter that day, my dad saying to me, I feel like my whole life has been a preparation for this opportunity. And he was so excited about what was ahead for him. So you can imagine how startled I was to get a phone call to find out that my 56-year-old dad was being rushed to the hospital with a heart attack. We get to the hospital, and we wait there, seems like forever, and finally they came and said, well, the family can come in and visit, and we came and visited him for a few minutes, and I thought, well, he can't be too bad, he's taking visitors. But I didn't know he was so bad they were letting us come in and see him, maybe one last time. And after we walked out of that room, I'm told my dad had a fatal heart attack. We weren't in the room. And just about that time, our pastor, Ralph Wilkerson of Melodyland, walks in and he says, hi there, where's Doc? You could just tell by the look in his face, this guy meant business. He wasn't socializing. He just said, where's Doc? And we said, he's in the room, in the emergency. And all of a sudden, pastor walks into that room. And when he walks in, here's what he sees. He sees a nurse standing there. She's got a sheet draped over her arm. She's getting ready to put it off over a lifeless body. He looks and he sees that the doctors have already walked away and they've already unplugged the gauges and stuff. And she's getting ready to put this sheet over. She's startled when he walks in. And she turns to him and says, don't you see there's a no admittance sign in the door? You're not allowed here. She said, you don't understand. I came to pray for Dr. Harrison. She said, it's too late to pray for him. Too late to pray for him. If you want to pray for somebody, listen to the words, go comfort the family. At that moment, Ralph Wilkerson got a gift of faith. And he turned to that nurse and he said, I did not come here to see the dead. I came here to minister life. That's commitment. And he gets into motion and he walks by that nurse and he goes over that lifeless body and he says, in the name of Jesus, I command life to come back in. I command resurrection power. By his stripes you are healed. And my dad opened up his eyes and said, where am I? My dad left that hospital. He was a charter faculty member of ORU. He was the first teacher of the Holy Spirit in the Now course. Among his students was somebody named Kenneth Copeland. And he left ORU and he opened up Melodyland School of the Bible, Melodyland School of Theology, and he had a prosperous another 8 years of his life. Why? Because somebody wouldn't let that dream die. Somebody came in there and believed that God could heal. Somebody was committed. Somebody helped. And so I just tell you, whatever your situation is tonight, it's not too late Don't believe those that say you can't do it. Get into motion, get committed, and I am believing your dream can happen. How many agree with me? Oh, yes. Let's just say this. Father, let's say this together. Father, I thank you for the power of a dream. And Lord, I thank you that you've given me dreams in the past. But Lord, I'm believing I'm not done with those dreams. You have things you want me to do. And I decree today, Lord, I am going to get into motion. I'm going to get committed. And Lord, I believe that I'm going to impact this generation. And I thank you now. And I praise you for resurrected dreams. Now just praise and thank him for that. Hallelujah, Father. Lord, we just thank you. We praise you for that. Glory to your name. Turn to somebody next to you and say, I'm believing in dreams. I'm believing in the power of dreams.